Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to docket number 23-1102, which is PURA's consideration of the application of Connecticut Natural Gas Corporation and the Southern Connecticut Gas Company to amend their rate schedules. We are here this afternoon for our third public comment hearing in this matter. My name is Chairman Marissa Gillette, and I'm joined virtually today by my colleagues, the Vice Chairman Jack Bukowski and Commissioner Michael Karen. So the agenda for today's hearing is primarily to receive a comment from members of the public. We are going to begin today's meeting with a brief overview of the company's application, which will be provided by Mr. Dan Canavan in just a moment. I do want to make some opening housekeeping remarks, especially for those who may be your first time joining us for a virtual hearing. We want to welcome you. It's important to note that today's hearing is to receive public comment from members of the public. We are not here today in a capacity to answer questions. Rather, the purpose of gathering comments from members of the public is to help myself and my two colleagues understand what is important to members of the public as we prepare for the evidentiary hearings in this matter, which will take place beginning in late April. So PURA has up to 350 days to consider the application from the company, and this is part of our very important process to consider what the company has asked us for. So in a moment, when we receive the presentation from the company, please note that this is what the company is asking for, and we are going to be reviewing in detail through evidentiary hearings, like I said, in April. Again, this is our third public comment hearing in this matter. We held two in person in January in Farmington and in West Haven. This is not the last opportunity for public comment, although we are seeking public comment as soon as possible so that the authority can use it to prepare for our hearings. If you would not like to speak publicly today, but you do have a comment on the matter, before we adjourn, we will make sure to put on the screen the ways in which you can submit a comment in writing. It is equally valid to provide the comment in writing or verbally, and we will consider all those comments as we get ready for our hearings. Finally, I do want to note that we have a court reporter with us today. The court reporter transcribes the comments, and that allows them to be entered into the official record and considered by us as we move towards a decision in this matter. Because of that, we do ask that you identify yourself by name if you seek to provide a comment during today's hearing. When it is time to take public comment, we'll ask that you do so by entering the queue using the raised hand function. If you're not familiar with Zoom, you can locate that function under the Reactions tab, which is at the bottom of your screen. We invite you to get into the queue at any time, and I will call on folks as they are put into order following this presentation. So, Mr. Canavan, if you are ready to provide your brief overview of the company's application, I will turn the floor over to you and seek your preference as to whether you want to control your slides or ask Ms. Lupoli to.
Yeah, thank you. We are prepared to drive our slides if that works for the authority. Mr. Persico, I believe, has the deck. There we go. Okay, and thank you, Chair Gillette, Vice Chair Bukowski, and Commissioner Karen. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. Good to see everybody here on a nice, bright, sunny afternoon here in Connecticut. So we're going to provide a quick overview of the case before the public is invited to provide their comments. And just a level set of who we are and what we do have a couple slides to introduce the public to the company. So we can go to the next slide, please. So this case involves two of our gas companies, Connecticut Natural Gas and the Southern Connecticut Gas Company. CNG, located in central Connecticut, serves 25 municipalities, has about 186,000 customers, in central Connecticut as well as Greenwich. And if we go to the next slide, we'll see a view into Southern Connecticut Gas, which is mainly on our shoreline. About 24 communities and a little over 200,000 the customers in those territories. Both of these companies are fairly old. They've been around since the mid 1800s, serving customers in Connecticut, and certainly we hear for rate cases these companies are combined in this proceeding. So we can go to the next slide. So while we think that there's no great time to ask for a rate increase, we've spent a lot of time developing this rate case, which we think will provide the following benefits. It'll maintain safe and reliable service. Certainly, we need a strong rate plan to allow us to continue to maintain safe and reliable service. It's the core function of these gas companies. We're also in our application asking PURA to increase the number of employees in the company, primarily in both our gas operations unit as well as our customer service group. And approximately 60% of these positions would be unionized positions. We think this is would provide benefits to our customers, and as well as having additional field employees providing a safe and reliable service throughout the distribution territories. We are asking to continue to invest in our cast iron and bare steel replacement program, also known as DIMP, which stands for Distribution Integrity Management Program. This is a program that's very common throughout gas companies and incentivizes the gas companies to replace aging infrastructure to maintain not only its safety, but to cut down on leaks as infrastructure becomes in need of replacement. So we have asked PURA to increase our DIMP spend, if you will, to maintain our 20-year cycle. We're also going to be implementing low-income rates to support our customers in need in disadvantaged communities. And with regard to Southern Connecticut Gas, we do have some Tax Reform Act savings that we need to pass back to customers. I won't get into specifics, but this stems from the 2018 Tax Reform Act, some of you may remember, which will benefit customers going forward as we roll that savings back to customers. We also have a number of clean energy pilots that we've asked PURA to consider at both companies, both a purge gas recapture system and an advanced mobile leak detection system. These are new technologies. They are presented as pilots because we believe that they will provide benefits to our customers in the system. But the idea is we would fund these projects on a pilot basis, and then if they are successful, we come back to PURA in a future rate case and ask that they would be deployed at scale. And so the purge gas recapture system does exactly what it sounds like. While work is being done in the system, instead of emitting gas into the atmosphere, this would allow us to capture the gas and put it back into the system so it's not wasted. And the advanced mobile leak detection is a technology that I know people are excited about in our gas ops team. Allows us to detect leaks before they become larger problems, which I think benefits everyone. So we're very excited about those two pilot projects. And certainly we're asking for a rate plan that will maintain the financial integrity of the companies going forward, so we can continue to provide them that safe and reliable service that our customers have experienced and will demand in the future. So we can go to the next slide. So give a little background of how we got here. Both companies were last in the rate cases in 17 and 18 and had rate plans that expired in 21 and 20, respectively. We are proposing a rate plan that will continue from November 1, 2024 to October 31, 2025. As the chair noted, we are currently in a year-long process by which PURA is examining our application. That process will come to a close in late October, and new rates will be set for November 1 this year, which will be in effect through October 31, 2025. So that means it's been approximately 5 or 6 years since the last rate proceeding for both gas companies, respectively. And it certainly is time for the authority to review our rates and set new rates going forward. A couple of things that are in the case that we think are important to highlight to this group is we're going to maintain a revenue decoupling mechanism. This is a mechanism that's been in place in Connecticut and elsewhere that trues up our actual revenues to the approved revenue requirement annually, which means we collect only the amount of money that PURA sets in the rate case, no more and no less. So if there's a very cold winter or a very mild winter, our sales fluctuate over time given the weather. That takes that out of the equation, and we make sure that we don't over recover nor do we under recover our improved revenues. We also have a earnings sharing mechanism, which we would share with customers on a 50-50 basis. This mechanism is currently in place for the gas companies, and we think it should continue. So what this means is if we get stronger, faster, and drive efficiencies in our own business, and we earn over our allowed earnings, we share those savings 50-50 with customers. We think that's fair and certainly incentivizes the companies to do better and to be more efficient. So we can go to the next slide. So in this rate case, we've asked for revenue deficiencies of $19.8 million for CNG and slightly over $40 million for SCG. The key drivers for those rate deficiencies are actual plan additions since the last rate plan, plus planned capital investments throughout the rate year, which amounts to $313 million for CNG and $509 million for SCG. These are capital investments that we are making in the system to maintain it and provide service to our customers. Another key driver is the increased DIM spend. We spoke about that a minute ago. While we think this is an important program for our companies and our customers, so we think we want to do more DIM going forward. And then the third largest driver is the additional employee requests. FTEs stands for full-time equivalent. It's a fancy term to mean we're going to add employees, and as I said earlier, to gas operations and to customer service. So this next bubble is the bill impacts for average residential heating customer if PURA was to approve the filing as filed. So that would be a 5.2 increase for CNG and approximately 11% increase for SCG. I think we can go to the next slide. All right, so we have a couple examples of projects here in CNG territory in Rocky Hill. This is a LNG facility. Increases our reliable operations in that area. This is an example of a plant that's in service that we've invested capital in and is now providing valuable service to customers, but yet is not in rates. And this is a prime example of what is driving the rate increase for CNG. And I think on the next slide, we'll see another example for SCG down in the Bridgeport area. This serves the Lower Fairfield area. And if you're familiar with that area, this service territory suffers from low pressure. It's designed to carry low pressure gas. So this facility increases reliability in that area. Again, this is a facility that's in place, it's in service, it's used and useful, yet is not reflected in our current rates, and it should be. And this is another prime example of what's driving our rate ask going forward. So go to the next slide. So what can you do? You might be asking, what does this all mean? And if you're here today, you're probably off to a great start. Today, you'll have the opportunity to provide your own thoughts and comments on what you've heard today and what you've maybe read in our filing. But if you choose not to provide comments when prompted by the chair, you can also submit written comments as well. And there's some guidance here on how you would do that. We are going to have 15 hearing days in, let's say, late April and into May, where company representatives will be available to be cross-examined by PURA staff and other parties. So certainly we look forward to that. And certainly if you have questions about the case, you can contact PURA or the companies at the contact numbers below. So, Chair, I think that concludes my short overview of the case. And thank you very much, and good to see everybody today.
Thank you, Mr. Canavan. For those who missed some of the opening announcements, I just want to invite you, if you do wish to provide public comment today, to enter the queue by locating the raise hand function at the bottom of the screen under the reactions tab. Again, I'll ask that you identify yourself by name for purposes of our court reporter keeping accurate records here. And again, I just want to remind folks that unfortunately the authority, the PURA, is not here to answer questions today, but rather to receive your feedback on how we should be thinking about this application as we prepare for the evidentiary hearings that come in April. So first in the queue, I see Ellen Thompson, please. And the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Ellen Thompson. I live in Granby. I am opposed to increases that fund fossil fuel infrastructure. I think that the state needs to be putting all of its energy and resources into renewable, clean energy. You know, it was good to hear that there are some innovative programs to recapture leaking methane, but that's the problem, is that methane is so bad for the environment. It is so bad for our health. It is so bad for climate change that I am really opposed to it. I think that it goes absolutely contrary to Connecticut's stated environmental goals of moving to clean energy. So I just wanted to go on record saying that I oppose additional money going into fossil fuel infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will certainly take your comments under consideration. And next we have Kendall Keelan. Oops, so sorry. Give me a moment to locate Kendall. Sorry, Kendall. You should be receiving a prompt to unmute. Sorry, one more time. Kendall Keelan, I see your hand raised, and you should be getting a prompt to unmute. Okay, I will come back to Kendall. Let me go to Brenda Watson right now, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The North Hartford Partnership would like to thank the authority for the opportunity to participate in this hearing. My name is Brenda Watson. I'm the Executive Director of the North Hartford Partnership, and we voice our objection to an increase in gas heating rates. The North Hartford Partnership oversees two major initiatives. Our commercial initiative is the Swift Factory, and our residential initiative is the owner of 3 low-income properties in North Hartford. In 2021, we established a housing trust with the goal of improving housing stability in the neighborhoods surrounding the Swift Factory. To date, we have acquired and renovated 18 units that are occupied by neighborhood residents earning at or below 50% of area median income. The North Hartford Partnership is located in the center of the North Hartford Promise Zone, the NHPZ, which is a collaborative effort to advance community revitalization with a focus on housing, economic development, public safety, health, and education. And for decades, this community has suffered from disinvestment, an aging energy grid, high energy prices, and harmful energy policy and regulatory practices. The NHP is concerned that the current economic state and health outcomes for the 24,000 ratepayers living in the Promise Zone, according to a recent study published by the McKinsey Institute for Black Economic Mobility, the state of the Black residents in America notes that unless progress accelerates, it would take community profiles anywhere from 110 to 320 years to eliminate gaps in outcomes for Black and white residents. For too long, communities like the North Hartford Promise Zone have been neglected, and we benefit from incremental improvements and investments. Nothing more than anything rapidly happening in our communities. It's always incremental. Therefore, the NHP is concerned that the Connecticut Natural Gas Company is requesting an increase in rates, which would severely impact the 24,000 ratepayers living in the North Hartford Promise Zone. An increase in rates would only serve to further harm the residents and commercial ratepayers who happen to also be small and minority-owned businesses. This community is a working-class community with a 37% poverty rate. It is also a diverse community, abundant in culture and history. If homes in the North Hartford Promise Zone were rich in solar paired with storage, if heat pumps were being deployed at a rapid rate, If we had the ability to engage in a community choice aggregation program, if every home in a North Hartford Promise Zone were weatherized, we would unlikely object to any increase in utility rates, because the 24,000 ratepayers in this community understand that there is a cost to doing business. But we also understand the imbalance of power and decision-making, and that energy policy and regulation work better for the companies and not work as equally fair for the ratepayer. Therefore, we urge PURA to think about our most vulnerable ratepayers and what it would mean to be faced with yet another increase to energy burden. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Ms. Watson. Kendall, let me come back to you and see if I can get you unmuted this time, please. There we go.
I think it worked. Thank you. I appreciate your help. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Kendall Keelan, and I'm an attorney speaking on behalf of the Conservation Law Foundation. CLF is a regional environmental nonprofit with offices in all 6 New England states. We are an intervener in this rate case and have filed written comments on behalf of CLF and other advocacy organizations. CLF is concerned that CNG and SCG are seeking recovery for investments that are inconsistent with the state's binding climate targets under the Global Warming Solutions Act. The increases proposed here would raise rates while making virtually no progress towards decarbonizing the building sector in line with state climate law. Natural gas is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions in Connecticut. Natural gas accounts for 40% of residential emissions and over 75% of commercial emissions, all of which have increased over the past several decades. Emissions from the residential and commercial sectors account for 30% of the state's overall greenhouse gas emissions, which is more than any other sector besides transportation. DEEP has identified electrification as the key pathway to decarbonize buildings, which means that gas use must decline in the near future. DEEP has also found that sharp emissions reductions are necessary to meet the state's 2030 and 2050 climate targets. The gas company's capital investments and pipeline replacement programs fail to align with state climate law designed to secure clean energy for our future. The companies have failed to justify key investments as reasonable and prudent expenditures, including spending on pipelines. Their clean energy proposals would have a negligible impact on reducing emissions and are not a justified use of ratepayer dollars. And the companies ignore electrification forecasts that have direct bearing on future gas demand and the prudency of gas system investments. The companies seek to recover costs for their capital investments and pipeline replacement programs that will increase costs for ratepayers. PURA should not authorize recovery for capital investments unless the companies demonstrate that they have adequately considered non-pipeline alternatives, and such alternatives were found to be non-viable or cost prohibitive. CLF further requests PURA withhold recovery for the company's proposed clean energy pilots and R&D initiatives because they are not prudent expenditures. Finally, CLF requests PURA consider opportunities to align the gas company's investments and operations with state climate law, including a comprehensive future of gas docket, long-term gas planning, and a non-pipeline alternatives regulatory framework. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Sam Danowski, please.
Hi there, my name is Sam Janowski. I'm the State Director of Sierra Club's Connecticut chapter. I'm also a CNG customer. Sierra Club is committed to tackling the climate crisis and ensuring a healthy environment for all, as I am personally. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share our perspectives on CNG and SNG's requested rate increase and the proposals within the rate increase to invest in pipeline infrastructure and hydrogen and renewable gas. It's well established that we must reduce our use of fossil fuels in order to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. It's also well established that Connecticut's over-reliance on fossil gas is the primary reason for the high cost of energy in our state. And to address both, we must reduce our use of fossil gas and other fossil fuels and transition to clean and renewable energy. And that's why I'm here asking PURA to reject the proposals by CNG and SNG to invest ratepayer funds into wholesale pipeline replacement and in hydrogen and so-called renewable gas. Aside from repairing hazardous pipelines to address safety issues, further investment in gas infrastructure is out of alignment with the greenhouse gas reduction policy of the state of Connecticut. The most effective way for our state and our utility companies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions is to invest in all-electric heat pumps, network geothermal all-electric heat pumps, and other non-pipe alternatives. To do this effectively and equitably, we ask PURA to reject gas utility plans for wholesale replacement of pipes and plans for investing in pipelines and infrastructure for hydrogen and so-called renewable gas. We also ask PURA to request innovative all-electric heat pump programs and non-pipe alternatives and do it equitably and systemically. We believe this can best be achieved through a docket to transition the gas system to clean and renewable energy. Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment today and for hearing my comments.
Thank you very much. The next person in our queue is it Yvette Ayala?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I just want to go on record as a Connecticut citizen. I oppose to this raise from PURA on behalf of our seniors who are on a fixed income. So an increase like that will affect the community, the low income population as well, and our veterans who also are in our low income, and they're on a fixed income. So we cannot afford a raise from PURA on this that is going on. So I just want to go on record to say, as a citizen of Connecticut, I oppose to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Millman, please.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to comment. My name is Peter Millman. I'm a vice president for People's Actions for Clean Energy, PACE. I submitted written comments, so we'll summarize. I just wanted to say also that PACE, among a number of other groups, are in complete support of the Conservation Law Foundation's more comprehensive comments. One of the ways that I find this rate request disappointing is in the two pilot programs that were proposed at a time when we need to transition away from gas, be thinking in those terms, particularly be thinking about non-pipe alternatives. The two pilot programs seem really unambitious and without much vision, although I'm sure they have other values, other worth. In 2020, NSTAR, Eversource, proposed in its rate case before the Massachusetts DPU to include a network geothermal pilot program, which has since become the Framingham pilot, which is a much admired piece of work. And to my knowledge, as I understand it, NSTAR did not make that proposal at the behest of the DPU or any other state agency. Instead, because of its work with a number of nonprofits, including HEAT, Home Energy Efficiency Team of Massachusetts, they went and did that on their own. It stands in real contrast to what is being proposed here in terms of pilot programs. And of course, what NSTAR proposed was not the only network geothermal pilot. A year later, National Grid proposed its pilots, and the state of New York is in the process of, it has ordered all of its gas utilities to develop network geothermal pilots. So we would ask PURA to reject the pilot programs that were proposed here, and to instead ask or require the companies to propose network geothermal pilots. At the same time, we would also ask PURA to open a future of gas docket so that the issues of network geothermal and non-pipeline alternatives and such can be part of a comprehensive planning process. And I just want to finish by saying that network geothermal, it's not a cure-all for everything, but it can be a huge part of the transition to a cleaner economy. It offers a future. This is a future for gas companies, for their shareholders, their management, staff, all employees, customers, and the public in general. It's a real solution for the future. So thank you very much again for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. Our next person in the queue is Gabriella. Gabriella, there you go.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for allowing public comment. My name is Gabriela. I am opposed to the rate increases. The presentation at the beginning of this Zoom conference asked us to consider the integrity and the financial stability of the gas companies. In response, I asked the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority, or PURA, to please consider the integrity of Connecticut families. I ask that you especially consider the many financial hardships that New Haven families are facing. I'm calling from New Haven. New Haven families are living paycheck to paycheck. Pandemic relief programs have ended. Inflation is out of control, and household expenses have only gone up. The gas company stated that it has been 5 years since their last rate increase and that they feel they're overdue for a rate hike. I ask you to please consider the reality that New Haven families are living under. We have been living under austerity and poverty, and we don't get to ask for more relief or for more assistance. So to give you an example of the reality that my community is facing, New Haven families have to deal with food insecurity. Many Black and Latino families lack access to a car. Lacking access to transportation affects your ability to get a job. We also lack even internet access. So while this Zoom hearing is a wonderful opportunity for the public to comment, many New Haven families cannot participate, even if they knew that this was happening. I also want you to consider that in New Haven, children under the age of 6, 40% of them are living in poverty. So please consider the many financial hardships that New Haven families are facing. And please know that while this increased rate or proposed increase of 4% or 9% looks good on paper, in reality, it means families having to choose between their children and their bills. And in New Haven, we are going into record amounts of personal credit card debt and into loans, trying to meet basic necessities. Thank you.
Thank you. Violet Kimball.
Hello, I'm Violet Kimball. I am living and working in New Haven, and I make about the median income for an individual in Connecticut. And so considering the increased cost of living, I wanted to express my disapproval of the proposed increase in rates due to the additional financial strain it would impose on me. Instead, I advocate for a shift in focus towards a more sustainable endeavors, particularly in the realm of renewable energy. This not only aligns with my personal values, but also contributes to a broader social goal of fostering environmental responsibility practices. And so by redirecting resources into renewable energy initiatives, we can foster work collectively to a greener and more sustainable future, hopefully mitigating both financial and environmental risk. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Allison Hornick.
Hi, thanks for holding this hearing and for letting me speak. My name is Allison Hornack, and I just want to go on record to state that I oppose a rate increase. I'm a resident of New Haven. I've lived here for a while, for a number of years. I work in the city. I live in a low-income neighborhood, multicultural neighborhood, and I work full-time. I work 2 jobs. Everyone in my apartment building is also working class, and everyone in my building struggles to pay for heat as it is. Our building our landlord is one of the 5 like major landlord companies in New Haven that effectively, I mean, I call them slumlords, but they hide behind LLCs, and we live with our rent going up every year in like buildings that are dilapidated and don't get any kind of like fix or care to them. And our company that we pay rent to, a few years ago got a grant from the state to winterize the windows in all their properties. And that never happened. So, you know, we try to winterize our whole apartment building ourselves. But we're still like money literally just goes out the window on most of these properties. And yeah, so I just oppose. I want to go on record. Sorry, I'm not very articulate right now, but I want to go on record to say that I can't afford an increase, and people in my building cannot afford a rate increase. Our first floor neighbors are actively applying for some kind of assistance to make the heating bill. And we're also working together to apply to have someone from the state come to check out the state of the building we're in, because it hasn't been winterized and there hasn't been work done on it in quite a while. And there's buildings all throughout the Edgewood neighborhood under this landlord that are in similar conditions. And yeah, so the final thing I want to say on record is that this feels like wage theft. And I don't think that working class people should bear the brunt of the proposed expansion by this company. So I support all the stuff being said about climate and a transfer into like green energy, but I wanted to speak anecdotally from an economic standpoint as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here. The next individual in the queue is Mary Sherwin, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Mary Sherwin. I live in Hartford, Connecticut. And I do appreciate the opportunity to speak virtually, since I am hopeful that it gives more citizens of the state of Connecticut the opportunity to be here. It certainly helps me. I wanted to just say that I'm a volunteer member of a senior organization, Third Act Connecticut, and we're a climate and energy democracy organization. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit today. I'm a grandparent of 4 young children, and I'm very concerned about them inheriting a very different climate than the one that my children and I experienced growing up. So I really urge Pura to direct Avangrid and its gas companies to, instead of expanding gas infrastructure, methane infrastructure in the state of Connecticut, to instead achieve reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. And that would be through decarbonization rather than expansion, obviously. And a number of people have already spoken eloquently about the alternatives, which we would support, for example, the network geothermal. But I also want to really also, I guess, emphasize what the previous speaker just said, that energy efficiency is really critical, and more of that should happen. clearly. The cost of energy, and specifically this rate hike, as has been mentioned, is a severe burden to people in my community. And it's not just this community. There are many communities all over the state of Connecticut, obviously, has been referred to. We need a roadmap to phasing out methane as this energy source. It is absolutely not serving the state of Connecticut to expand this infrastructure. Alternative forms of energy that the companies could look into would make it possible for them to be leaders in a clean energy transition. And maybe some of the underrepresented people in gas operations could get jobs in this new industry, as well as there should be a transition for their current employees. All of those things are critical in a clean energy transition, but we really want to support a clean energy transition. And we think PURA you commissioners are in the position to direct the gas companies in a more renewable future for the state of Connecticut. And that would also, of course, support the Connecticut Global Warming Solutions Act, already on the books. I thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you for your comments. The next individual I'd like to recognize is Mark T.M., and I would just ask that you identify your name for the court reporter.
Hi, my name is Tracy Moore. I'm a resident of Bloomfield. I ask that PURA reject this request for increase. I think the easiest way for Avangrid to get more money is to raise rates. Conspicuously absent from this presentation was any mention of any other efforts that these companies have made to address financials, like the capping or even reduction of upper management salaries, a reduction of the use of outside consultants, or maybe just more efficient business practices overall. For programs like the low income rates or the clean energy pilots, I wonder if those programs are already being subsidized in other ways, governmental programs, the Inflation Reduction Act, perhaps. It just seems like, again, the easiest way for them to get more money is just to hike up rates. And that seems like a thoughtless approach. In any case, programs like clean energy pilots or repairing aging infrastructure, those costs should be covered by the company itself. That is part of the cost of doing business. I'll close by saying that overall, a rate increase at this time, when greedflation and corporate greed are in the spotlight, it's a bad look for CNG, and they should reconsider, if only from a PR point of view. Instead of putting the burden on citizens, they should set an example. They could take this moment to become the representative of responsible and reasonable business practices, of ways of problem solving besides consumers paying more. I'd like them to take a look at that and be more transparent about other subsidies and monies that they receive. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Sandra?
Hi, my name is Sandra. I'm a New Haven resident, and I'll be brief as this has all been brought up by speakers before me, but I wanted to emphasize the feelings of Connecticut residents, and I'm also calling on PURA to reject the proposed rate increases put forward. During a time in which the cost of living is already so high, and we've heard various examples of how marginalized communities are struggling heavily to stay afloat, any increase in gas rates must be well thought out and be an undisputed benefit to our community. But it seems clear that these rate increases are putting a burden on Connecticut citizens to fix infrastructure that does not serve us and our future. As has been stated, this rate increase will not bring us closer to moving away from fossil fuels and avoiding the impending climate crisis. This is not a viable future in which we continue to pour money into pipelines, and I again implore PURA to reject this proposal.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Alma. I'm sorry, ma'am, I just need to get you unmuted. There we go.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And thank you for the opportunity to speak to the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority and to Commissioner Gillette. I find the speakers very eloquent in this presentation. I too object to the gas rate increases and to increases in building infrastructure that promotes gas traveling through our state. I feel that the request for a gas rate increase would prolong our state's dependence on fossil gas. And one only has to look out the window to understand the dangers of global warming and how quickly it has come upon us. I urge a transition to alternative clean energy, such as the geothermal pilot projects and the use of wind and solar. Please decline the request for a rate increase in the use of gas facilities. Thank you.
Thank you. And Erica, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name's Erica Sriracha. Thank you for holding this Zoom meeting so folks can attend. And yeah, so I live in New Haven, Connecticut. I have a union job. Each year, you know, we fight for a small raise. And I have to say, I am still struggling to keep my head above water. I am still struggling and crippled by severe credit card debt. I'm on a repayment plan for both my electric bill and gas bill. Over the years, my rent has increased by 8%. My weekly grocery bills has increased by 20%. You know, the average for a CG presentation was $14 a month, which doesn't sound like a lot, but at this time, myself and others I know in the community are just fighting to, you know, for every penny that comes our way and to continue to like house ourselves and our loved ones. So I urge PURA to decline this continued inflation on working poor families like myself. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the queue that I have in front of me. I will remind folks that you can access the raise hand function under the reactions tab at the bottom of the screen. I've got two new entries. Laura, please.
Hello. Thank you, Chair Gillette and PURA for holding this hearing, and thank you for letting me attend in person in the middle of January. I was a bit disturbed at that hearing that there were so many employees from the gas company taking up all the parking spots at the West Haven Library and standing a little bit intimidatingly in the back of the room and at the doorway. I felt that many people were afraid to speak at that meeting, and that was really frightening to me. I want to say that until the English station remediation is completed, no rate increase should be granted. If anything, I and other New Haven residents should be compensated for tracking the lack of progress on this project and reporting to authorities about the broken windows, gaps in fences, graffiti, and litter causing neighborhood blight at the site. After the January 7th in-person public hearing at which I asked that efforts be made to limit methane leaks to save money for the company and customers and help save the planet, I did a bit of research into methane leak prevention. Before any gas rate change is considered, I request that PURA make certain the protocol in the EPA leak detection and repair best practices guide is being followed. I also believe that PURA should encourage compliance with the new regulations proposed last year by the Department of Transportation, which is charged with
safety for large-scale gas distribution. I will send you the links for those guides, and I thank you very much for considering my requests.
Thank you very much for your comments. Melinda, please.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Melinda Tuhuf. I live in Hamden, and I'm with an organization called the Connecticut Climate Crisis Mobilization. And at this very moment, I am having a refrigerator delivered to my house. So I've been a little distracted and I can't stay on the Zoom much longer. But from what I did here, I just wanted to affirm my strong support for all the reasons people gave that they're opposed to a rate increase, and including what Laura just said. So for climate reasons and for reasons of minimizing the pain for especially people who really can't afford it, and to maybe speak against some of the well-endowed compensation for the leaders of the company, I am opposed to a rate increase. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Aaron Good, please.
Thank you, Aaron Good. I'm a New Haven resident and Southern Connecticut gas ratepayer. I oppose this rate hike request because, like many previous speakers, I question the myopic, misguided, short-sighted investment in more fossil fuel infrastructure. Also, because of acute affordability concerns, so many people are already struggling to pay their heating bills, especially in communities like mine, and also because I object to any ratepayer in New Haven having to pay more to this utility until its parent company, Avangrid, stops making grotesque misrepresentations about the English Station power plant and fulfills its legal obligations to clean up that toxic brownfield site that is a cancer in the midst of our community. And I would also like to just associate myself with the comments of my colleague, Laura Kahn from the Environmental Advisory Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, again, we don't want to adjourn without making sure everyone who wanted to be heard today has had that opportunity. So if you have not yet had an opportunity to offer comment and you wanted to do so, we just want to make sure that you get into the queue. The raise hand function is at the bottom of the screen under the reactions tab. So I'll just pause here for another moment and make sure that we have received comment from everyone who wanted to provide it today. Okay, well, on behalf of myself and my colleagues, we want to thank everyone who attended today's hearing, as well as our earlier hearings in Farmington and West Haven. Also, if you did not want to speak today, but would still like to provide public comment, we are receiving comment in writing. It can be mailed to us, or we also accept comments by email to the email address PURA, P-U-R-A, period, executive secretary @ct.gov. So we would welcome you to provide any comment if you haven't had an opportunity to do so to this date. So this concludes our public comment hearings into this matter. As we mentioned at the outset of today's hearing, the authority's next step is to hold evidentiary hearings in this matter, which begin on April 22nd. Those evidentiary hearings are broadcast on our YouTube channel and also recorded. So if you would like to follow along with PURA as we cross-examine the utilities application along with our other stakeholders, we'd invite you to visit our YouTube page and follow along there. Again, I want to thank everyone for participating today, and we are adjourned. Thank you very much.